Yeah, I mean, as I peer into the future, I mean, one of the things, I think there are two areas, and maybe I'm embedded in my own context, and I'm sure this needs to be nuanced in the Australian context, but there are really two very significant issues that the church has to deal with, and would be great research projects for people if they end up in a master's degree program or even a doctoral program focusing on youth ministry issues. But the two issues that the church has to get their hands around, particularly when it comes to young people, is how do we actually go about working with families? That families are, for the most part, kind of closed systems, and they're hard to work with. And I say that as someone who really doesn't want people messing around with my own family. Like, this is a private thing. Who are you to tell me how to raise my kids? So what does it actually mean? I mean, we've been saying that we're about youth and family ministry for decades now, and I don't think I think it's just a cute name. I don't think we have any idea what it actually means to work with families. In other words, the way it gets played out is we still just do youth ministry, but we know families matter, or we once in a while tip our hat towards families, but we really don't know what it means to actually do ministry with and for families. And essentially the way the church functions is we kind of split up families. The younger kids go to children's ministry, the kids go to youth ministry, the adults go to their chosen Bible study or other social action group or something. So I think that becomes a huge area in the future, is what is it really going to mean to work with families? And the deal is that families are just getting more and more complicated. And so it's not getting easier, it's getting harder, and that's going to be something we really have to wrestle with. The other thing that I think we have to wrestle with that we have not done a good job, and would be another great MA thesis or something, church deal with pluralism. Because as the world becomes more cosmopolitan and more globalized, there's no way to avoid cultural pluralism culturally as well as pluralism religiously. And so how is the church going to engage in that conversation? And I don't think we've done a very good job, because we've actually foreclosed in one of two ugly ditches. And one ugly ditch is to say, well, we'll just batten down the hatches and just be about Christianity, and we won't even really care, and those people are just going to hell, and who cares? I mean, that's been a really ugly ditch that some churches have taken. But just as ugly of a ditch is to say, well, there's no particularity, there's no difference. Whatever works. And yeah, by heritage, I'm a Christian, and that's good, but whatever. As long as it works for you, it's okay. And that's a pretty ugly ditch too. And in the American context, we've seen both of those. So the hard part is, how do we actually engage with our neighbor, engage in pluralistic and even cross-religious conversations, while also being able to claim some particularity, the particularity of the Christian message within that? I mean, how do we do that, and do that in a way that isn't violently fundamentalist? And I think that becomes an incredibly narrow road that we have to find a way to cross. And I think that becomes a real challenge for us. How do we have, and again, I think this has something to do with theology, how do we have something theologically particular to say that also opens us up in love and in dialogue with our neighbor who may be radically different than us? I think those things become a real challenge as we move into the future.